Okay, so now we're going to create 3 drawings. First one's going to be the plate, second one's going to be the rod, third one's going to be the guide support. Now don't want you to do these with me. I'm just going to be showing you really fast. And then I'm going to be putting a video up on my website so you can watch it on your own time. But I just want you to watch so you can kind of see how things should be laid out and what I want you to do. So first thing is I'm going to open up the plate. Whoops, I don't want a new drawing. I'm going to open up my plate. And notice right now it's set for assembly, so I don't see anything.
Is it really no?
Oh, sorry. Huh. No, it's not. Let's see. Okay, thank you. All right, so notice right now it's set for assembly, so you don't see anything. I want it to be set to part, so I can just click it to part, and then I see my part. So if you ever get freaked out, it's because it's not seeing what you got in there. So I'm going to start with the plate, and I'm going to open it up. And I just want to open it up mostly so I can see what units it's in, to remind myself the units, because that way I know which template I want to use.
You owe us lunch yet?
In terms of checking? Hey, technical issues, not my problem. Crash. The speed of my laptop. Speedy Gonzalez laptop. Okay, so here's my plate, and it's showing me that it's in millimeters, grams, seconds. So if I click up here, notice right up here I can make a drawing from a part or assembly. So if I click make drawing from part or assembly, it automatically knows that I want to create a drawing from the part that I have open. Okay, and then it asks me which template I want to use. I want to use the metric, because it says down here I'm using metric inches, and I'm going to say OK. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to lay out your drawings, so you need to watch me. It's like watching paint dry.
I think you have to close the power phone before take up the maintenance.
So, Ron, where are you going to be in the parade? I know, but which one? I'll be like looking down at you, and I won't know which one you are.
I will be confusing.
Oh, okay. All right, so here I am. Here's my drawing. Now remember the first week of class I showed you this resource panel, and you have this tab right here. This tab is your drawing views. I'm going to drag out my resource panel, and you'll notice that here I am on this tab. Shows me the plate. It also shows me all the views. Do you see that? So I can actually come over here and I can say, okay, I want the front view. Okay. I want the top view. I want the right side view, and I want the isometric view. But it's not showing me hidden lines, so I want to make sure that I set it to hidden lines visible, which is right here. Okay? And then I'm going to green check. Okay, well, it didn't make this one hidden lines visible, so I need to select it, set it to hidden lines visible. I want this one set to hidden lines visible. And then I want this one to be set to shaded or hidden lines. So I uncheck use parent style and say shaded with edges. And there it is. Take that, AutoCAD. See, that took very little time to lay out the views. So the first step, right, is to set up your views, and notice it automatically filled in the name and the description because I saved the name and the description in my file when I created it. So then the next thing is to do my overall dimensions. So I'm going to move this up a little bit. I'm going to move this up a little bit so I have some wiggle room. And my dimensioning tools are all on the annotation ribbon. So I'm going to click on the annotation ribbon. And I've got Smart Dimension here. And the first thing I want to do is my overall views. And remember, my overall views should be placed between my views. And I want to make sure, notice how it auto-centered the text because that's an option I set up. Okay, so the first thing I did was I set up my overall dimensions. Nice, easy. So now I have to look at, okay, I've got to dimension the holes, right? And there are two things I need to dimension on the holes. First the size and then the location. All right, to dimension the size, I use the hole call-out tool, not the Smart Dimension tool. If you use the Smart Dimension tool, all it's going to give you is the diameter. It won't give you the depth. And the guy who's fabricating the part needs to know how deep the hole is. Okay? So if I use the hole call-out tool, and then I select the hole, notice it gives me the hole. And notice that it gives me all the information about the hole. Okay, now I want this to be between 30 and 60 degrees, so I'm going to adjust it. Now I have two holes the same size. Now the reason that it doesn't give me a quantity is you may recall when we created this plate, we created it using the circle tool, not the hole tool. It still knew that that hole was through, but it didn't see a quantity. Because if we had created it using the hole wizard, I would have placed 2 points, and then it would have known a quantity. But because I did it with the circle extrude, it doesn't see a quantity. But I can add that. If I double left click on it, it brings me a text editor right here. And it's got a bunch of information. Now anything that's in the little brackets, the greater than, less than, that's basically symbology. The mod dash diam is the diameter symbol. The dim is the dimension. Okay? that number 4. So if I want to say 2 times, I just type in, and I'm going to say, do you want to continue? And I'm going to say yes. 2x, and I want it to be caps, and then green check. So now it shows me 2 times the holes. I don't want to dimension the 2 holes separately, because that creates problems for the guy programming the part, estimating the cost of the part, and the guy inspecting the part. So if I really want to piss off 3 different people, I would dimension the 2 identical holes each separately. But since I don't want to piss off anybody, I'm gonna, if they're the exact same kind of hole, I'm gonna do it in one call out. Question.
So for the hole dimension, is the fact that it's pointing to the center of the hole or the circle, is that an option set, or do you have to be careful about setting it?
It is a default, but if you, it is a system default, but if you really want to, you can change it so it's not pointing to the center.
So any holes that are left like unmarked, they just to assume that it's the same as
Correct.
the other one.
Right.
If you have more than, like, what if that third one just happened to be like a slightly bit bigger? Like how big?
But they would have a call out, right?
Okay.
Right? So now we want to dimension the location of the holes. And again, dimensioning the location of the holes is going to depend on how you want your tolerancing, how you want to control the position. Okay? And so I'm going to have to pick an edge for at least one of them, right? Now I could say I want this one and this one both 16.5 from edge, and if I want to, notice I want those 2 dimensions to kind of line up. So see how if I put my mouse over, it'll automatically kind of snap to line those 2 dimensions up, and then I want this to be set to the center. So again, by doing it that way, I'm kind of controlling how those holes are going to be. Right? And that's all the dimensioning I need for this drawing. Is that cool? Very fast, very easy.
What about the height of the holes?
What do you mean the height? I've got through right here and through all here. Oh, you're right. Sorry. I'm missing the Y dimension. Sorry. What?
The lunch. Do I get lunch?
Yeah. Thank you. And we would need the fillet radius. Thank you very much. Yay!
Yeah. Do you have to put any dimension for that at all?
You should do a dimensioning for the fillet. What I normally do is, if the fillet's the same, I'll come over here and I'll say tip, meaning that's the typical dimension for all of them. Notice how my leader got messed up? So I want to make sure that it looks correct. See that?
Different edges have different angles for the
Fillet. Then I would have to call each one out. Yeah. Okay. Well, this one shows the countersink right here. That's part of the whole note. That's why you use the whole note. Okay? All right. So I'm going to save this up. I'm going to close it. One of the reasons why it's so slow is I've got 2 seats of SolidWorks open. So I'm going to close one of them. Okay. And I'm going to close my plate. So now, what if you have nothing open? All right? So I'm going to do the rod next. All right? So I'm going to come over. I'm going to say, I want to do a new drawing. It's going to be metric. I'm going to say okay. So now, if I come over here, I don't have anything in my view palette. Okay, so how do I get it? Well, I can come over here, I can select this dot, dot, dot button. and then I can say I want to do the rod. So I don't necessarily have to have the part open to use it. All right, and then notice it automatically gave me a bunch of views. All right, well, the front view, this front view is not the front view that I want for my drawing. What I want is, I'm going to use my right view as my front view. I want to set it to say that it's going to be hidden lines. I'm going to say, okay, I want this view, this view, this view, and this view. Okay, and if I want it to be bigger, I'm going to say I want this to be hidden lines. Now notice, right now it's set to, so it's kind of small. But I can make it bigger by saying, okay, I want to use a custom scale, and notice it's giving me a bunch of different choices. Let's say I want 3 out of 2. Well, okay. Or maybe I want 2 to 1. Yeah, I'm going to go with 2 to 1. So, and then I can just drag the views over. Okay. And I'm going to move this view over and set that view to hidden with edges. And I'm going to move this down a little bit and this down a little bit. Okay? So this is how I want the rod laid out, because there's a reason why I want it this way. I've got 2 different holes. I've got a hole here and I've got a hole here, and I need to call out both of those holes. And they're on 2 different ends. Now the other thing is I've got my overall dimensions. I've got a diameter here. And I've got a diameter here. Right? And I want to add a whole call out for here, and notice it gives me a dimension. Let me just double check to see. No, that's the one I want. Okay, so that's the hole I want. I'm going to delete that. Okay. And then I've got a whole call out here. So what I do not want to see is this. Why don't I want to see that? It already says on the hole, and I'm dimensioning the hidden line. So I don't ever want to see that dimension. Okay? All right. Then I also want to see the overall dimension, right? And I've got a dimension from here to here, and a dimension from here to here, and a dimension like this. Now I also have this chamfer here that I want to dimension. I have a chamfer note, and the chamfer dimension is right here on this drop down. So I want to be able to use that. So I'm going to place a chamfer dimension. I select this edge, and then I select this edge, and notice right there. See that? See how nice that looks? And I can add the word chamfer if I want, just to make sure that it's very clear what it is. And then pull it out so that my meter looks proper. So I'm going to kind of look at it and see, do I have everything that I was supposed to have in terms of dimensioning? I think I'm good. It didn't take very long, now did it? No. Okay, it's going to take you guys a heck of a lot longer. I have, oh yeah, I do. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to add that dimension right there. So there's lunch. Okay. All right. Well, you got these. I'm giving you guys pizza, right? Yeah, on March 20th. Okay, so I'm going to save this up.
Actually, this dimension we should edit.
Sorry?
Actually, the last dimension we should will be automatically done by depth of the
By this one? Yeah, I think so too. Okay, so now I'm going to create the guide. Now the guide is the more complex, the most complex, and there's actually, in the book, she shows you how to do a lot of the guide drawing. All right, now I'm showing you a couple different ways using the View Layout tab over here, but I could also use the View Layout ribbon. See the View Layout ribbon? I'm going to come over the View Layout ribbon, and I'm going to say Standard 3 View, and then it asks me what document do I want to do, and I'm going to say Browse, and I'm going to say the guide. Wow, that was hard. Yeah. So place that. It automatically brought up in this whole call out for this whole, I don't want it. All right. I also want to make sure that this guy is set to hidden line. Right, so I can see the hidden lines. Now, the other thing is, these holes here are on an angled face. So to dimension those for profile, I need to use what's called an auxiliary view. All right, now if you go to View Layout, you can see auxiliary view. I can also create an auxiliary view on the right-click menu. If I put my mouse over the view, right-click, and say Drawing Views, Auxiliary View, that also brings up auxiliary view. So I can either select it from here or from here. They both will place the same view. So I'm going to select the auxiliary view, and then I select the edge of the face, and there's my auxiliary view. Okay. Now, for most auxiliary views, you don't have to set them hidden line. You can set them hidden lines removed because of the way, because we want to focus just on these holes. Now, the other thing is I can crop that view because again, I'm just looking to focus on this view. I really don't care about this part right here, right? That's not what I'm looking to dimension. So to crop the view, you use a sketch, and this can be very tricky, so you got to watch me. What you want to do is you want to, again, right-click on the view, go to Drawing View, Crop View. It's going to ask you to create a sketch. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to use the Spline Tool. Now I could also use a rectangle tool or circle, it really doesn't matter, just the spline looks cooler. So I'm going to come over and I'm just going to create this spline. And once again, it doesn't like what I did. So I'm going to select the view. And sometimes it takes more than one time before it will see the sketch. And there it is. Okay, so there it is. See how the view got cropped? It looks a lot cleaner. Now the other thing you can do is we want to create, in the book she has you create a section view. So to create a section view, I select this view, I select the section view, and I can rotate it. I'm going to rotate it this way, and I want to rotate it, have it located on the center. And I'm just going to place it generating it. And there it is. So there's my section view. And once again, that section automatically will call out that hole, and that's not the correct way to call out the hole, so I'm going to delete that. Now I can, because I have the section view, and this section view looks the same as this view, I really don't need this view. So I can delete that view. The problem is it'll ask me if I want to delete the auxiliary view. I'll just say no. But I'm going to have to. So it's going to delete the auxiliary view. I'm going to have to recreate it. So you got to see it again. I'm going to create drawing view, auxiliary view. There's my auxiliary view. Then to crop it, okay, now when I created the spline this time, I have a little bit of an error. Can you see what the error is? I've got a little tiny piece of spline right here, and that would create problems. Okay. So there's that crop view. And then the last type of view that she talks about in the book is a detail view. So if I wanted to create a detail view, that's basically like a close-up view. So I'm going to just select this section and just put it up there. And then I have one more view that's missing, and that's the isometric view. And so if I select projected view, that gives me the projected view right there. And I'm going to set it to hidden with edges. Okay, so these are the various views that I have. Okay, now what's kind of important is I need these two views, this section view and this view, to line up. They need to be aligned. So to do that, there's a tool that's called alignment, and you can say horizontal or vertical. And I always get confused whether they mean which is which. So I'm going to say align vertical, and I'm going to say between these two. See, I had a 50-50 shot at getting it right. So I want alignment by horizontal, and see, notice that automatically set those so they were lined up. So that's nice. So now it's time for dimensioning. Start with my overall dimensions. So I always place my overall dimensions first. Okay, if I've got my overall dimensions, I got half the battle done. And I kind of look to see how I can make it look a little bit cleaner. I don't like overlapping lines if I can possibly avoid them. Okay, got that. All right, now for the slots are always kind of interesting. I've got a center mark right here, so I can add center marks to my slots. And if I want those linear center marks, so I have a center point here and here, I can add that. See, so how you adjust it, whether you have it as in the center, no connection lines, or just centers, makes a difference. You know, in terms of how easy it is to read. I didn't necessarily want that. Fix that in a second. And again, I want to line these up, so I look for that little yellow dot, dot, dot to make sure that everything's lined up. And that R3 is actually 4 times, right? So I need to give it a quantity. Okay, now for these holes, I want to use the hole call out. There's a little bit of a pause while it's accessing that little the whole database. There it came. Okay. And then I can just place it. I may need to move this out of the way. And again, I want to make sure that my leader is set to the correct position. Now, when you're dimensioning these holes, you need to make sure you select the hole and not the center mark. If you select the center mark, what happens when you dimension is sometimes it'll give you the angle between the center marks, which isn't very helpful. So there's one dimension missing, and that's the hole call out in the top here. So I'll just throw these up on the detail view so that I have an actual reason for the detail view. Okay, so this is basically how I would like to see your guide support drawings. Now, you don't necessarily have to put the detail. This detail is pretty big. I mean, 2 to 1 might be a little bit bigger than I'd want it. Let's see. That's probably better. Okay, because it's just way big. Okay. All right. But that's basically the way I want to see. I definitely need to see an auxiliary view because that's the only way you're going to pull out those holes, right? Question.
Do these dimensions in any way affect the model? Can you modify the model through the dimensions intentionally or by accident?
These dimensions are based on the model. They're coming off of the model.
But can you affect the model?
So if I modify a dimension here, okay. So if I say I want this dimension to be say 8, okay? It says, or I can disable tolerance displays. I'll say yes. So I made that 8. All right. So now this is 8 through. All right, now, if I go to my model, will my model show 8 diameter for that hole? So I can open up the model right here. I just right-click and I say Open Part. Okay, so here's my front hole. It's still 10. Okay? Now, if I change the dimension in the model, and really I should just set it to dim so it
I think in 2014 you changed it in December.
in this
In the drawing.
in the drawing. Yeah, I know they've been talking about it for years.
One of the classes, the guy did it.
Yeah,
They just had to rebuild it.
yeah.
So it just came in the drawing.
So if I change it here, it will update in the drawing. See. So if you change it in the part, it'll update in the drawing. I think Ron's right. In 2014, it'll update. It'll go either way. Yes.
You have to have the drawing in order to do that. If you change any of the values on the part without having the drawing open, would it affect it? Like, does it automatically just change everything?
It'll automatically change the drawing so that the next time you bring that drawing up, it'll show the
As
change.
soon as you open it up, it automatically shows.
Yes, correct.
Based on whatever.
Whatever's the part. Remember, the part doesn't actually live in the drawing. It's an external link. Remember I talked about that? Okay? So it's like, if you move that part to a different folder, it's going to lose the link. And you'll open up a drawing and you'll see a bunch of empty views. Okay? Any other questions? Okay, so we are in lab. You've got a bunch of work to do, right? You got a lot of drawings.